Doormat Chronicles, episode 2, about my recent ex. I've been meaning to make another episode about the thrift store where I volunteered. I am going to do an episode 3, but I'm not sure if I should wait until after their annual general meeting because I have expressed interest in going. I would like to ask some questions, and they said everybody's welcome, and they believe in transparency. At least that's what they said on Facebook. So I have questions for them. Now, the president and the manager wouldn't respond. I emailed them twice asking them when they would have it, but I found their general board member email address or whatever, and I emailed them, and someone got back to me and said, with no salutation, got back to me and said that they'll post on their website and on their social media a few weeks in advance. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be going, and maybe I'll make the episode after that. I'm not going to tell anybody what I'm going to ask them, but I have a few questions. However, I do want to file a complaint against them with the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner of Alberta. I did feel like it was really inappropriate of them to mail a threat to my home, considering I gave them my personal information for the purpose of volunteering, not to mail me threats to intimidate me. So I had to email them first about it. If I'm not happy with their response, if they respond to me and I'm not happy with it, I will be filing a complaint because that's a misuse of my personal information. I'm sure they looked up the legalities behind it. I know they didn't. Anyway, okay, so let's go on about my episode 2 of my recent ex. Oh my God. So this is a rant, okay, because this is just the Doormat Chronicles. This is how I allow people to treat me over the years. And I dragged it out by staying this guy's friend for a long time afterwards. And he just causes me rage and grief at this point. Nothing but rage and grief. So I'm at the point where I'm just sick of people treating me poorly. And I have purged friends from my life. Friends, for lack of a better word. I would allow people to be abusive to me. And this guy, he was the most abusive. Not physically, but emotionally, verbally. He was the most abusive man I have ever dated. The only man who was more abusive than this guy was my father. And that says a lot because my father is fucking cruel. He's told me to commit suicide, calls me an obese pig with a fat ass, military whore. My father, the social worker was looking for me. I looked at my foster care documents. I was missing when I was 12. They phoned my mother. And my father in the background was cracking jokes that I was out prostituting myself and he just has to hire a white pimp to find me. I could have been dead. And my father was cracking jokes that his 12-year-old daughter was missing. So this guy that I recently dated, he is like comparable to my dad. He wasn't that mean, but he is the meanest I have ever dated. And I have a track record of dating really abusive men. They just love to abuse me. I don't know if I bring it out in them or what, but now this guy I just feel rage all the time and I can't take it anymore. I can't even be his friend. He just pushes me over the edge all the time. So now it's the hockey playoffs and it brings back a whole lot of bad memories. So I mentioned about how I was spending a lot of money on this guy, how I was the driver of the relationship. He always had an excuse for everything, right? So I was the driver of the relationship for about 8 months. And after the fact, he's like, well, it was hard for me to find a car. His car was breaking down. He had this piece of shit Mercedes. So he gave it to his dad and took his dad's car, which was missing a shock. So I felt bad. So I was always driving. And his excuse was that he was having a hard time finding a car. Well, yeah, sure. You were having a hard time once you started looking about 6 months later. He wasn't even trying to look for a car for the longest time. But there's always an excuse for how he treated me, how he mistreated me, being rude. He's told me that he was not mean or he didn't mean to be mean. Oh, he knows what mean is. So he named me Miss Piggy. I talk about this in the other episode. The first episode, he was continually on my case about my diet and exercise, my body. He would make sexual comments about slim younger women. I'll put the link to the first episode in the description box on YouTube. And I'm not sure how I'm going to do it on TikTok, but I'll figure out a way. And anyway, I don't want to repeat all that in the second episode, but he was very abusive and my confidence was taking a beating. And when I started dating him, I thought I was attractive. Like, I know I'm old and I know I'm overweight, But it wasn't an urgent thing for me to lose weight. I wasn't panicked about it. I wasn't obsessed with my body. He was. He was so obsessed with my body that I was answering to him daily, and I couldn't even mention something without him mentioning my weight. This guy really takes the cake, and I mean that literally. It was his birthday, and his mother was cutting a piece of cake for me. She went to hand it to me, and she knew that I don't like a lot of dessert. She gave me a little tiny piece of cake. She went to hand it to me. He fucking took it from her. He cut it in half and he gave it to me. Anyway, back to the hockey stuff. I don't know if he told his family that we were still dating or not, but there was a hockey game, and he told me he would help me assemble a bed after work. He drives by my house every day after work. I'm about 15 minutes away from his workplace. And he said, well, I have to watch hockey with my family later on tonight, but I can help you. I asked him, like, can you help me assemble this bed that I just bought? A day bed for my spare room. And he said, yeah, I can come over because I don't have plans until later. So he came over, and the moment he sat down to help me with the bed, I was so happy. It's very awkward for me to ask people to help me with things. Very awkward. He sat down to help me. His sister phoned him immediately, and I watched him. Okay, bye. I gotta go. Oh, yeah? Well, I thought you're watching hockey with your family later. I thought you were going to help me here. My sister changed the plans. I got to meet my sister right away. So she phoned him and demanded that he leave and meet her immediately to go to a hockey viewing party. And I sat home and cried. And so anyway, another hockey related thing, playoffs. I went shopping to prepare a small party for him and my friend. My friend was coming, and we had plans. He was coming too. So I was setting up my big iMac. I was setting up in my backyard with a speaker and a half tent to cover the computer on a portable table. And I was getting the fire pit ready. I was preparing a special dinner. My friend brought treats as well. So it was taking me the day to get ready for this, for the actual playoffs, for the last game. He comes over after work, and he said to me, in front of my friend, he said, well, I would have gone downtown because my sister's watching hockey there, but I don't feel like driving downtown on a work night, so I'm coming here instead. He already made plans to come here, but his sister, I guess, came out as a surprise. Had it been a weekend, he would have ditched me. He would have fucking ditched me. Even though he made plans and said he was coming and I was getting ready all day. But he didn't go because he didn't want to navigate downtown Edmonton on a work night. My friend said to me after, she said, I can't believe he speaks to you that way. This is how he treated me all the time. Now rewind a bit, and it's Thanksgiving weekend. His family, his sister, his brother-in-law, and they have a daughter and a son. The son doesn't live with them. I think he was like 24 at the time. And the niece, their daughter, was 17. Now, they offered to fly everybody out to Kelowna to spend Thanksgiving weekend. And my ex, he insisted. He's like, they are asking you if you want to come. They're offering to cover everything, the flight and the whole weekend. And like, I feel awkward accepting things from people. They offered to fly everybody out there. So that is his parents, his brother, himself, and they offered to fly me out there too. And I have a hard time accepting things from people. Like, it was already awkward for me to go, when I would visit him, to go next door to his parents' place for food all the time. His mom would cook his meals, and then he would go, we would sit down and eat and like get up and leave. And he would leave with his lunch packed for him the next day. Okay, this is a man in his 50s. And the same thing with his brother, who's my age. I mean, maybe it's a cultural thing, I don't know. But to me, it's hard for me to accept things from people. And it's also hard for me to accept help. When he was going to help me assemble the bed, and then he got up and walked out, and I sat at home and cried all night. It was extra hard because it was hard for me to accept any sort of help from somebody. And then I was just let down. When I do get help, I'm usually paying top dollar for it. Or I'm getting ripped off. So his sister and his brother-in-law offered to fly me out with them. And he insisted that they are welcoming me, that they're asking me if I'd like to go, and they're being sincere about it. In hindsight, I think they were just being polite. But my ex, he is socially inept. So he probably saw it as, oh yeah, they mean it. They really mean it. They mean it. But I don't think they did. So I accepted. I flew to Kelowna. Oh my God. And before I went, and it was hard for me. It was hard because, people paying for me for something, I'm not very comfortable with that. But he was costing me a lot of money. So I couldn't really afford to pay for all that stuff at that time. Like I was feeding him. I was paying for dates. I was driving everywhere. Oh my God. So as a token of appreciation, I told him, I think we should give your sister a thank you gift, right? I mean, that's a nice thing to do. So I like to put a lot of thought into my gifts. Sometimes they're funny. Sometimes they're just really thoughtful. And I decided to drive to Clareview Station. I live in Fort Saskatchewan, and then hop on the LRT to go downtown Edmonton to a particular chocolatier that won a bunch of awards. And I bought her a box of chocolates, and I asked my ex, like, do you want to go halfers on it? Like, it's not cheap or anything like it. He did go halfers. He didn't, like, this guy was either minimal or half. Like, a gentleman, I don't expect to have everything done for me, but a typical gentleman who has, his parents supporting him food-wise and shares his house that he's paying off with his brother. I mean, if I were him, I would have said, well, I'll pay for the whole box, and then we could just say it's from both of us. No, he paid me for half, just like his mom's Christmas gift, a pendant I really liked for her. He paid for half. Anyway, so I went to downtown Edmonton. I bought these chocolates, and they were for her when we gave them to her, as well as a funny bottle of Steve-O hot sauce. And he embarrassed me. He told his sister that the chocolates are expensive. Imagine giving someone a gift and telling them that it's expensive. And then he started to eat them. Now, I didn't know we were going golfing. I don't golf, but I like to go and watch. I've been with them at a really beautiful golf course, and I watched, and they treated me to some drinks, and I watched them, and I really loved it. I love to watch golfing and ride around in the golf cart, and it's a beautiful day, fresh air, green grass. They were nice, and I enjoyed their company, and I liked it. But the first time we went golfing with them, they had to sneak him onto the golf course. He didn't want to buy any golfing clothes, so he wore jeans and a see-through t-shirt. Okay, this guy, he wears his clothes out. He's too cheap to buy clothes. He's not broke. He has a good paying job, even though all he can do is labor. He is a skilled senior laborer and he's unionized, so it's not like he makes nothing. He makes really good money, but he just doesn't want to buy golfing attire, even though his sister and brother-in-law are paying for the fucking golfing. I don't want to sound shallow. Oh my God, he's not dressed right. But if somebody asked me if I would want to go golfing and I didn't have the proper clothing, I would politely decline and thank you very much. So I don't have the proper attire. It was embarrassing. Okay, a thrift store, like the one down the street from my house where I volunteered, what is it, like $10 for a pair of golfing pants, $6 for a golf shirt? It doesn't have to be trendy. Just buy a fucking collared shirt and a pair of pants. So we're in Kelowna. His brother-in-law loans him a golfing shirt, and again, they had to sneak him on because he was in jeans. It was embarrassing. Don't get me wrong, I'm thankful that they treated me to this weekend. I think they had good intentions, I hope, but I think they might have just been polite. I don't know. But his niece seemed to have a fucking issue with me. I wish he would have just told me, hey, my niece is spoiled and she has an attitude problem. Just so you know, maybe you might not want to come because she might be rude to you. She was making little snotty remarks throughout the weekend. One time I said something about her boyfriend. Now, I do use the term partner in a more serious situation, but in an informal environment, I do say boyfriend, girlfriend, as she corrected me in a very condescending manner. You mean my partner? I'm like, oh fuck. Oh great. This is not gonna be fun. And as the weekend progressed, she would like make little remarks and just be snotty. Fucking snotty. And I was feeling more and more uncomfortable and out of place. To the point where, it probably made it worse, but I was glued to my phone because I felt like I needed to have a bubble. Like that was just my own space. In hindsight, I should have just removed myself. I should have just left quietly. I clearly overstayed my welcome. Yeah, someone knocked on the bathroom door, and they had 3 bathrooms, and I thought they went to another bathroom. They knocked again, and I'm getting nervous because I'm like, I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was putting on my makeup, or I don't know, but I'm nervous in general there, right? And I didn't answer the door right away, And then I opened the door and she fucking glared at me. She glared at me and went into the bathroom. I thought, okay, well, maybe whoever it is just going to go to the other bathroom. Oh my God. Later on that day, she's telling mommy really loudly about having to poo and she couldn't get into a bathroom very loudly so I could hear. So I walked up to them and I apologized. Because she fucking scowled at me. Like, she had an issue with me. By then, I could already tell. Like, she came across as really fucking stuck up and spoiled. With a really bad attitude problem. Like that saying I love. You can always judge a person's character by the way they treat those who can do nothing for them. She strikes me as one of those people. So I apologized. And his sister's like, oh, you don't have to apologize. And I was already feeling really awkward. And then they took us to the bar. Like, they seem to be very well off people. Like, they have, I mean, they work for their money. The brother-in-law, he runs a successful business. We've got a beautiful modern home. My ex said they can afford to fly all of us out. Don't feel bad. They can afford it. It's fine. Imagine this. 17 years old with a new SUV. the gel nails, continual gel nails, like always getting the nails filled. A phone, fancy clothes. And hopping on a plane whenever she wants to fly to Germany to see her exchange student boyfriend. Like, this is, you can raise a kid and hand them everything, but more often than not, you could be raising the spawn of Satan, like a stuck-up fucking snot. And that's how I saw this girl, because she was being really rude to me, and she'd walk around with her nose in the air. I'm like, oh, she did not like me, and I just felt awkward and out of place, and I regretted. Right when she started being snotty, I regretted going there. Then came time for Thanksgiving, and I offered to help with preparing the food, and I didn't want to do anything wrong. I was feeling like I was walking on eggshells. I was feeling out of place. I was feeling really nervous, and my confidence was shot because my ex was so mean to me all the time that I felt like just this like battered down piece of shit. And so I was making sure I didn't want to cut the bacon wrong for whatever dish she was making. I forgot what she was making it. And his niece is at the kitchen island. I don't know why she would ask me this, but she's like, what's it like to not be able to cook? And I don't remember what I said, but there are questions that are very inappropriate because cooking is a basic life skill. And I felt like telling her, look, I was teaching myself to cook before I was your age because I was on my own at the age of 15 and I had to learn by myself. I didn't have mommy teaching me everything and handing me everything. But I didn't, and I don't remember what I said to that, but I felt really, really awkward and uncomfortable. And it was just shit like that for the whole weekend. His brother humiliates me. Maybe it's because he was drunk, I don't know. But his brother's like, yeah, you know, next time we come out, we could pay our own way. And I'm like, oh God, I let them pay for me. Fuck. And I felt like saying to him, dude, your brother is costing me a fucking arm and a leg. Speak for yourself. Like, I mean, if that happens again, I wouldn't be going again anyway because his niece is rude, but I would just decline because I couldn't afford it at the time. Like, we would go to the bar, myself, my ex, and his brother seemed quite generous and nice, and he bought the tab for all three of us for having drinks all evening, and none of us are lightweights. So he bought the tab. So the following week, we would go again, and it was a fun thing we do every weekend. But I just didn't think it was fair that he offered to pay again, because drinks at the bar are very expensive. So I said, well, no, I don't think that's right. And I paid, and I just assumed my ex would offer to pay a little bit, at least. And he watched me put a $240 bar tab on my MasterCard. Anyway, back to Kelowna. So we go to the kangaroo farm, and like, don't get me wrong, I'm very thankful for everything they did. Very thankful, and I still want to pay them back. I would like to pay them back for the whole weekend. Like, we went wine tasting, I watched golfing, we had tacos one night, we had the Thanksgiving dinner, all that stuff cost money. They gave me alcohol. We went to the bar, they treated me to that. We went to the kangaroo farm, did I say that already? Like, they did a lot for me, and I'm very thankful for that, but I really feel the need to pay them back because I have dignity, and I feel like because they paid, she thought that she could be rude. That's how it looks to me. I don't know. I will never know entirely for sure, nor do I give a fuck. Anyway, it's time to go to the airport, and I don't pack light, and I get free checked baggage with a lot of airlines because I was in the military. So I get 3 checked bags, and I think I did bring like a carry-on size, medium, and large. I think I did bring all 3. I guess in my defense, I could say that I let my ex share my luggage with me, because if I'm going somewhere with someone and I get free checked baggage, hey, just throw your stuff in with mine. He wears almost the same thing every day, so he didn't bring very much at all. So yes, I did pack a lot for that weekend, because I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know what I wanted to wear, and I didn't think about going back to the airport after. The whole family, his parents, his brother, my ex, myself, we would have fit in his sister's SUV had I not brought too much luggage. Because I brought too much luggage, they asked his snotty niece to drive to the airport too. And she walked out of that house with her nose in the air, pissed. And I'm like, oh God, what am I going to do? Whose car am I going in? I'm assuming with his sister. I hope with his sister. Oh, she answered that before I even asked. She walked out with her nose in the air. She's like, Uncle so-and-so can ride in my car. Okay, well, that answers my question. And I wish I just said, look, you're mad. Clearly you have an issue with me. I will just take a taxi to the airport. Thank you for the weekend. Thank you for everything. I will make my own way to the airport. And realistically, I should have left partway through the weekend when she started being rude to me, correcting my speech, making snotty remarks. Yeah, something about me she just didn't like. Fuck. And then my ex, he was very abusive, very mean. And like I mentioned, the whole weight thing, body, telling me what kind of pornography he liked, which is very degrading to women. When I pulled my camper to his cousin's acreage party, he didn't pay for any gas. I mentioned all of that. He was the cheapest fucking biggest asshole I've ever dated in my life. He actually acted like he was doing me a favor by dating me. He really thought he was doing me a big favor. There are these parties that we would go to, and we met at one of them, and they're a lot of fun. It's like his community. They would be held at large restaurants or at halls, and I loved these parties. It'd be fun. There'd be dancing, drinking, delicious food. His family, his sister, brother-in-law, they were coming out for Christmas and New Year's. I offered to drive because we both went halfers again on his sister and brother-in-law, but I thought we should buy them tickets for this party. It's the night after New Year's. We should buy them tickets because I just feel like I'd like to do something else that's nice for them because of them treating me to Kelowna. I still feel very awkward for that. And I really want to pay them back. I can't pay them all at once right now, but I would love to make payments to them because I have dignity. And I did not allow people to pay for something so I'd be treated like shit. Yeah, so the night before New Year's, we went halfers. Well, I bought one ticket, he bought the other for his sister and his brother-in-law, and his brother came along too. And last minute they told my ex that their daughter is coming. I would assume that they would ask, like, is the venue sold out? No, they said she's coming. And I'm like, oh great, the one who hates me is coming. And they did. I'm like 99% sure they offered to just get their own cab. And I said, no, I'll drive us all. Like, it was a bit of a tight squeeze in the back of my truck, but everyone fit. And I was a DD that night because my mom had just gone to the hospital to die. Okay. And yeah, I hated my mom, but she was still my mother. So of course I still love my mother, just that I couldn't stand her. I have a history of like being a foster care. Then I tried to help her as an adult. It's a long story. And my father, who has always been extremely abusive, he just disowned me the day before Christmas because I bought myself a dishwasher. So I'm in a crisis. So I don't want to drink because I don't like to mix it while I'm experiencing grief. I don't like to mix alcohol with that. So I wanted to be the DD, plus I wanted to do something nice for his family. We went to that party and I sat there like a fucking idiot all night. I had my makeup done professionally. I bought a dress just for the party, really pretty sequin dress, and I sat there at the table while he was out mingling with his friends. And it was me, him, his sister, and then his niece, and then his brother-in-law, and then his brother. And it's a really big table, so there's some people I don't know on this side. And he was gone pretty much most of the evening, and I sat there like a fucking idiot. Well, his niece is fucking snooty, and I was nervous, and I would look at his sister and his niece, and I was like, well, do I try talking to them? They don't seem interested in talking to me. Oh, God, it was such a shitty fucking night. Oh, my God. And then New Year's Eve is the next evening, right? So I'm having a crisis, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, so I'm not going to go to a party in someone's house. His sister apparently throws a big bash every New Year's. They did invite me, but I didn't want to go while I'm miserable because I'm having a crisis, and I don't want to be around people drinking all night. We were just with them the night before, and everyone was drinking, and I was fine. I didn't have anything to drink. I was driving. But I just didn't want to be at a party where everyone's drinking throughout the whole evening. And I mean, I guess I could have driven there and just went home. But I was not in a good mood. I was sad. So what did my ex do as a loving boyfriend? He went to her party. And he left me at home. And I sat there and cried all night. I sat at home on New Year's crying and shaking because I was so sad about my crisis. I didn't want to be a burden or a Debbie Downer. And in hindsight, I look back and it's like, no. He was just with his family the night before. Any decent guy would have stayed with me. Yeah. And it was fall. It was the fall before that, I'm pretty sure, where he avoided me for a whole week. Like I said, he drives by. Yes, I stayed. I should have left a long time ago, but I don't know. I guess I'm a sucker for punishment. I mean, I know it's because of my upbringing. My father set a terrible example of how a man treats a woman. He's treated me poorly my whole life. He's treated my mom like shit. That's all I've seen it, and I would see my mom just take it from my dad. He went to jail when I was a child, and I don't remember that, but she took him back right when he was released, and that was for sexual assault. What I'm saying is that this is an ongoing pattern where my mom would just allow him to abuse her, and I allow men to do that to me over and over and over and over again. So he avoided me for a whole week because he said he was sick. He insisted he was sick, so he would just go to work, and then he would drive home right past my house. You know, he used to sometimes stop with a coffee, and we'd take the dogs for a walk, but he wasn't feeling well. The following week, his father needs help painting the house. He could have stopped by with a coffee one night of that week, but no, he kept rushing home to go help painting the house, which is fine. You know, they needed to paint the house and get it done in the evening, but he couldn't even take 20 minutes to say hi, and I was so sad. I remember being so sad. And then my aunt, my psycho-paranoid aunt, I'll make a video about her too. Holy fuck. But anyway, she came to visit me. We don't speak anymore, thank God. She has some kind of really weird paranoia disorder that's so bad. It's worsened than it was 20 years prior. Like, it is very bizarre. It's sad, but I can't take, like, you know how there's trauma dumping? There is also paranoia dumping. Believe me. I let her into my house, and she was mean to me on a few occasions because of her paranoia. Like using 2 squirts of Vim on the floor while she was standing up a few feet away at the kitchen counter making your breakfast. She freaked out at me, and I was almost in tears. She thought the government was shutting down her TikTok. This was another time. She phoned me about it. She says, I think that my TikTok has been, deleted or frozen. And it's because she was reposting people's videos about the government. So she said, can you look for me if my TikTok is still there? I said, sure. And so I went to the dog park and I looked, and it's still there. So I took a screenshot and I texted it to her. She phoned me, freaking out, angry, saying, I phoned you about that for a reason. You delete that from your phone right now. Everything from 5G towers affecting the metals in the COVID vaccine, you name it. So this is my aunt. But anyway, I was walking on eggshells when I finally reconnected with her right after my mom died. She sent me condolences, and I was already going into this relationship again with her with no boundaries at all, because I didn't want her to leave me again for some kind of stupid reason. Like, she's angry that my father took the coffee table when their mom died in the early 80s. My dad's oldest sister accused her No. My dad's oldest sister, when she lived with her after their mom died, she refused to buy avocados. Again, early 80s. My cousin's husband accused her of turning up the heat. Again, early 80s. 40 fucking years later. So I looked it up, and people with these paranoia disorders do hold unusual grudges for many years. And I don't like to compare, like everyone has problems regardless of where they are in life. But when it's about fucking avocados on a coffee table, I can't take that seriously. That's like rich people problems too, right? Like, oh my God, I couldn't buy that Louis Vuitton purse. I'm so sad. Like things like that. No, I can't take that seriously. When you have everything handed to you, like, oh yeah, everyone has problems, someone said to me. Not when you have a huge fucking family carrying you through life. Things are, sure, everyone has problems, but things are harder when you have nobody, when you have to rely on yourself for everything. So my aunt came for that week, and she wanted to meet my ex. So he's already avoided me for 2 weeks, and I don't know why. She wanted to meet him, and I think she wanted to ask him why he named me Miss Piggy. And I'm sure he knew that I told her how he treated me. He avoided the whole week. He would not meet my aunt. He wouldn't even meet my family member. And I still put up with him. Eventually, he did buy a car. He bought a little Kia hatchback. He started driving us places. But the cigarette smoke in his car was making me sick. And he'd laugh at me if I was feeling sick. And he'd be like, well, my old car smelled like cigarettes and you didn't have a problem with that. It's like, well, it's been 8 months since I've been in a car with cigarette smoke. I don't know. It's making me sick now. And he took me to Fort Edmonton Park. He drove and he paid. Wow. Usually, like, he would take me on a date, like, let's say to a movie of his choice. Like, we were watching Fast and Furious, and I would actually look in my purse so I wouldn't be disruptive and look at my phone and do the math. How much of this fucking movie is left before we're leaving? So he would pay if it's what he wanted to do. It was never like a treat for me. So Fort Edmonton Park is a bit of a distance from my place, and he drove, and I was getting really, really nauseous from the cigarette smoke in his car. And he was laughing at me. Like, I am almost vomiting. I am so sick, so nauseous, and he's laughing. He thinks it's funny. My head was hurting, and he was just annoyed and laughing at me. Like, if he would upset me and I'd get upset and angry about something, he would be holding back a smirk. He has this like social issue too. Like, if I'm upset, he can't make eye contact and he like smirks. Like, it's really, really weird. Like, he is socially inept. But the rage that this guy would give me, he caused me so much rage. And I was always angry. I was angry at him about my body, about making comments, sexual comments about the other women, about how he treated me, about how he was obsessed with my weight, about having to pay for so much stuff, about fucking driving everywhere. Valentine's Day, he took me for dinner to a Japanese restaurant. I remember it was such a big deal to me. I brought my favorite handbag. I wore Coach flats, ballet flats with 2 Mary Jane straps and a little C charm. I love those little Mary Jane flats. Black leggings, a black faux leather skirt, and a really pretty silky dark red blouse, like a burgundy deep red blouse with little tiny ruffles like around the collar, on the sleeves, and I put on my makeup. You know what he wore? He wore the clothing that he wore to work under his coveralls all day. And he wore his work parka, the blue parka with the yellow reflective stripes. He couldn't even be bothered to bring a different jacket. That is the effort he put into the relationship with me. He just didn't give a shit. And he continually treated me like garbage. And I dragged it out. I let it drag out for too long. And then I stayed friends with the guy. But he would always do things that upset me. And he would set me off. He would cause me rage. And I would just fly off the handle. And I cannot be his friend anymore. Because he does things to upset me all the time. Even as a friend. Like 3 weeks ago, he stood me up twice in one weekend. Lucky's birthday, I was making rib dinner. Not for the dog. He can't have ribs. He can't have cooked bones. He can't have the seasoning on the ribs. I was making it for him and I. He texts me at the time that he was supposed to show up at my house while I'm getting dinner ready. He says, I'm going to be an hour late. An hour later, he texts me again, saying he's going to be another hour late. It was, a month or so ago. He was going to the casino with his friend, but it was a Saturday night. He said, well, I can come after. And he crashes at my house as friends. I have a spare room with a daybed, and he sleeps there. He said, well, I can come after the casino, and then we can go out in the morning and do something. And I was like, yeah, sure, okay. That sounds good to me. So he was coming here for 3 a.m. And so I thought, well, before we go to sleep, I'll make us fancy hot chocolate, like old-fashioned hot chocolate. And I make it out of chocolate. Like, it's not just a package of hot chocolate powder. I make it out of chocolate and seasonings. So I was having it ready for 3 a.m. and he texts me. And he said, well, I've been drinking, so it's going to be another half an hour and I'll leave. I guess they don't have a last call there. And I don't know, if you make a plan with somebody and then you start drinking, maybe you have the decency to text me earlier in the evening to change the plans. Not right at the time that you're supposed to arrive at my house. So I said, no. If you've been drinking, you're not going to sober up in a half an hour. It's not worth it driving. It's never worth drinking and driving anywhere ever. You're closer to home. Take a taxi home. He said, okay, I'll do that. But tomorrow morning, I'm coming over. So, okay, this is the first time he stood me up now in the weekend. So tomorrow morning, he's coming over. Well, that morning, because it was 3, right? He messaged me at 5 that evening, 5 or 6. He slept all day. Of course, he got up to use the bathroom. He was up. He just couldn't be bothered. I'll just fucking text her later that evening. Oh, sorry, I couldn't make it, but I'm really tired now. Like, one time I texted him good morning on a weekend. And I mean, I don't expect an instant response. Oh my God, or like flying out of bed. Oh my God, good morning, good morning. But to literally take out your phone and type, good morning, I hope you're having a great day. It takes, 11 seconds? I texted him good morning and there was nothing for hours. His excuse? Well, I had to take my cousin to IKEA. There's always an excuse for him being mean to me. Apparently there are other people out there who allow themselves to be abused like this, to be treated like shit. I know I don't deserve it, and now my confidence is beaten down again, and I'm working on building it up. I'm working on self-care, self-love, and someone told me not to be so hard on myself because I blame myself for all of it. But that person is right. It is probably a coping mechanism of mine, just the way I've survived throughout my life. So last weekend he came over. I made birria tacos. He crashed here. The next morning I made eggs Benedict, and I asked him for help to offload some sawdust out of the back of my truck. I had wood chips and sawdust in the back of my truck. I have a neck injury and a shoulder injury, and it's really hard for me to do these things by myself. I asked for help to just offload the sawdust and the wood chips from my truck. And I had some big pieces of wood in the back too, because I want to line the bottoms of my garden boxes with this stuff so I don't have to buy a bunch of new soil. I have enough soil for like 1 garden box and I have 3. So I want to fill the bottoms with wood and sawdust and then put the soil on top. He threw a huge piece of wood onto my wheelbarrow and put a big hole in it. Now, I'm sure it was an accident, but it set me off with a panic attack because I'm getting this sawdust for free so I don't spend a few $100s on soil. Now I have to buy a new wheelbarrow. At first he's like, well, are you going to be moving liquid around in it? Like, he didn't want to fucking get me a new one. And I felt bad because I'm asking him for help with something. So it's like, well, I'm not going to expect him to buy me a new wheelbarrow if he's helping me offload a little bit of sawdust. He did buy me one. I chose the cheapest, shittiest one because I felt bad. And now I have this flimsy, tiny wheelbarrow. But it reminds me too of when we were dating and he knew how to renovate because he's renovated his own condo that he used to rent out to people. He knew how to renovate, and I was feeding him. I would cook him dinner every night when he started staying at my place every day because it's closer to his workplace. I'd have him dinner ready, and then I would pack his lunch for the next day just like his mommy did, and I would pay for this food. So he was costing me a lot of money. At the same time, he knew I was hiring a handyman to come in and do work. And not once did he offer to help me with those things. Like, hey, maybe save a few $100s. Maybe I can help you. We can do this together. No, I was serving him and paying for a handyman to come in and help me with things. That is how valuable I was to him. So now it's the hockey playoffs, and I'm mad about this wheelbarrow. I'm thankful that he bought me a shitty replacement. I mean, he offered to pay for a better one, but I'm not going to let somebody do that if they were helping me with something. I don't know, maybe I can fix the one I have. Like, it's just a big crack hole. Like, I can maybe patch it somehow. I don't know. But I want to buy a new one. I guess I have a shitty, rickety one now, so it is what it is. I associate all that with just, he causes me panic all the time. Panic, grief, distress. And this weekend I asked him just to help me with something that would take 20 minutes. And he destroyed my wheelbarrow. Maybe I'll make another episode, I don't know. But this is hockey playoff evening, so it just reminds me of the grief he caused me during the hockey playoffs a while back, and his sister phoning him and demanding he leaves now to meet her to go watch the hockey viewing party now. So he got up and left. He didn't even have the decency to say, oh, I'm helping Joanna assemble a bed. Can I meet you a bit later? He got up and he walked out, and I looked sad, and he said, aww. That is how I let this guy treat me. And when I went to Kelowna, I pretended that I didn't notice that his niece was being a fucking snotty bitch. Because it's just my coping mechanism. If I pretend I don't see it, I don't have to engage, I don't have to confront. I'll just pretend it's not there. And I'll just hope for the best and wait for the weekend to be over. And I was so relieved when we got to the airport. Finally, we're getting on the plane to go back. And I have a flying phobia. I'll fly. Like, I flew to see the Kifness in Vancouver last May, but I have a phobia of flying. But I was just so happy to be on that plane. Anyway, maybe I'll make another episode about him. But I'll make more Doormat Chronicles series. More about my parents. About my friends that I've had over the years. One woman... I was friends with her. I met my recent ex through her and her husband, and she was really nice to me, and then she was really mean. It was always one extreme. And she was mean, very abusive. Like, she is a narcissist, full of herself, and so mean to me. Like, one time I tried to stand up to her and tell her she offended me, just like an adult. And she told me to get over myself. And after that, I never, ever tried to stand up to her again. And eventually, when she told me that something really bad happened to me, that I deserved it, that was when I realized, like, this is it. And then I removed myself from those situations. And that is what I have to do from this guy. I can't get over all the stuff I went through with this guy. So, yeah, I suggest you watch episode 1. It's pretty interesting how he was really mean to me about my body. And, yeah, I eat whatever the fuck I want again. I'm going to lose weight on my own terms. I don't think that I can ever date somebody again in my life. Ever. Because I have endured so much abuse from men. So much grief. So much pain. That I'm not putting myself through that again. I am happiest when I am single. I am finally finding peace in my life. Removing myself from those really bad abusive situations, just fucking leaving. And I need to value myself and love myself again. And after being beaten down my whole life by people, I don't speak with my father again. I was going through a lot end of February and March. And I noticed that he emailed a certain account of mine, my iCloud account that I don't check very often, and he had a threat. He threatened me to give him money, $4,000 that he gifted me in 2004. He doesn't need money. He has investments. He just wanted to get some attention, and he wanted to cause me some grief. And I told him, no, I'm not giving you anything. I said, I'm looking for peace now in my life. And it's interesting because he was generous on his terms. Like, I went to foster care. He complained about paying for my care when I was temporary custody of the government. And then they said they're taking full custody. And he said, no, because I don't want to pay. And then they said, you don't have to anymore. And he didn't complain about that. And there were times where I've had no food, starving, nowhere to go. He wouldn't help me. And then he gives me $4,000 to put down on a car in 2004. And he has been resenting me this whole time. This is why I can't accept things from people. They always turn it around on me. So I hope you, I guess, enjoyed this episode. It's just a rant. Thank you for watching. I will eventually make more episodes of the Doormat Chronicles series, just that I've been through a lot in the last couple months. So yeah, I'm kind of slowly getting back at it. And I will be making another episode of this thrift store where they threatened to sue me. I think those people, they were caught up in, look at us, look what we're doing for the community. And look at how much money we're putting back in the community, even though the morale there sucked. The manager hired her 2 daughters as paid staff and was giving them frivolous tasks while volunteers did the shit work. Morale sucked. Stepping all over their heads. Like, I felt like I was being taken advantage of there. I spoke out briefly about them and they threatened me. I don't know if I'm going to wait until I go to their annual general meeting. I don't even know if I'm going to go, but I think as it stands, I should. I should go and ask some questions and see how that works out. My friends at Twice But Nice. Hi, guys. I love ya. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye.